Imagine if you lost all the work that you have on your laptop. How would that affect your business? Unfortunately, this happens more often than you may think. And really, it's completely avoidable. A lot of this is because there's no program in place to back up. There's no backup strategy to your business. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a 5-step process so that you can have a backup strategy that's going to protect your information from data loss. So the first step is to build a data inventory. So you need to know what you're protecting. What is the data that you have on your computers, on your servers, in your web apps, in your application, all the data that you have in your business. Write it down. You can use a spreadsheet, just list it all down. What is it? Where does it reside? And then also a little bit of indication on its size. Like, is this just Word files, text files that don't take up much space, or are they video files that may take gigabytes, even terabytes? And also, what's the cadence that this data set changes? So you might have some data in your organization where it's historical data, so you don't have to back it up on a regular basis. You just need to make sure it's secure, versus understanding stuff that may change significantly in a very short period of time and very often. So just kind of get that inventory and understand what your data looks like. Then the next thing to do is a data loss impact assessment on each of these pieces of data that you listed. So basically what that is essentially like conducting a risk assessment, but you're looking at it from the perspective of losing your data. So the things you want to think about is, like, for everything you've listed, what would the impact be to your company? And rate it. You can go with a simple rate it from 1 to 3, 1 being not that impactful, 2 to being fairly inconvenient, 3 to being, we're kind of really in trouble here. And really look at that. So look at all the different data, figure out what would happen to your company if you lost it. And that'll tell you where to prioritize. The next step is really looking at all the different types of backup media, the different ways you can actually back up. So the first I'll talk about is cloud backup solutions. So there's a whole bunch of different services out there available on the internet. A popular one is Backblaze that I use personally. And essentially what it enables you to do is be able to back up information really often. So you can set the cadence in the control panel in the application you install on your computer, for example, that it's backing up hourly or daily or weekly, depending on, again, how often is this data set changing, right? The next one is network hard drives. So this could be a hard drive that you keep in your office or at home. There's a variety of different products out there. Even a lot of routers have the ability to plug a drive right into a USB port on the router. So then you can set up an environment in your office where computers are backing up directly to that drive, and you can set the cadence, the time at which each interval happens of backup. And then the next one is a portable HD. This is a really common one that people use, where you just go buy a hard drive that plugs into a USB port on your computer, and then you can run backups on your own time. Then we have CDs and DVDs. Now, CDs and DVDs, this is a bit more of a traditional backup method, but one of the reasons why I'm bringing it up is because for certain types of data, this can be really useful. I love the idea that when you burn data on a CD or burn data on a DVD, especially if it's not rewritable, you're basically locking that data and you can file it and archive it. The same thing is true for tape backups. Now, again, you don't see that as much these days as in the olden days, but this was how people backed up a lot of corporate data back, 10 years ago. But for some instances, it can still be a reasonable way of backing up data. And then the other thing to consider, and we're not going to dive too deep into it, but we see a lot of companies now are really moving towards more cloud-based solutions. And by doing this, essentially, a lot of organizations, they have nothing to lose on their laptop, or very little to lose on their laptop, because all their work is actually stored in a cloud app. So they're not using an Office or a Word application to write documents in their computer. They're actually using something like Google Office and using the Google tools online. Therefore, if their computer is lost or their hard drive dies in their computer, they just log into their account and get that. But one thing I would like to say with services like that, and this is any SaaS service you use, is you shouldn't just take for granted because it's in the cloud that it's safe and it can't be deleted or can't be removed. So you should really do some investigation there and research, like, what is that organization doing to backing up your information, and what's the process like to get that information back if it is lost. And that loss may be as simple as you deleting it by accident. So picking your option for each data inventory set, like I say, start with the higher impact data all the time. Like the stuff that's really going to impact you the worst, that's where you want to put your energy at first. For the more critical stuff, So stuff that's, again, that stuff that's really going to impact your business negatively. Having at least 2 different backup locations is critical. And often in times, I'll even go with 3 locations for data like that. And what's really critical, this is the most important, is do not have those, if you have 2 different places you're backing up your data, and those two different places are in the same office. If somebody breaks into your office and steals your office, or steals stuff out of your office, or if there's a flood, or if the building burns down, you don't have another option. Your data is gone forever. So having that data in another place, often what I do is have, for my personal stuff, I have a hard drive at home that I back up to, and I back up to Backblaze. So that gives me 2 locations. If there's something I'm really paranoid about, like my photo album of all of the things I've taken pictures of in the last 12 or 13 years on my that I have on my computer, I also have a DVD in a folder locked away just in case, and I update that every month. So these are some things to consider. Now the last one, and this one is where I see a lot of people fail. Just because you're backing stuff up doesn't mean it works, okay? So I've seen a lot of cases where people are running backups, but the backup was corrupt. I've seen other cases where they thought the backup was working, but actually they improperly configured what data was going where, and some of their critical files were in a folder that was not on the list of items that were being backed up. So what I recommend is you should do this every month, or if you don't have time for every month, even if you do it a couple of times a year, actually go in and test a backup. So actually go in, pretend that you lost some of your more critical pieces of information, and go back in there and try to recover that data to ensure that the tools you're using are working, and that you know how to get that data from a backup back into another machine. All right, so to recap, build a data inventory list, do a risk assessment or an analysis on what the impact to your business is going to be if you lose the various types of data, understand and explore all your different backup options, and then pick the right options for each piece of media, and finally, the most important, test your backups. Awesome. I hope this video was helpful to you. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and share this with anybody that you think it could be helpful for. Thank you very much.